about this in the book, that it looked like another appendage almost coming from the suit, like a pseudopod reaching across her head, and then this, in the motion was this. So to me it looked like it had ripped, I saw one side of her jaw in this hand, the top of her head, and this hand looked like it had the bottom of her jaw. Now maybe this other appendage or this suit was really what was holding that side, not his hand. I don't know. But the motion and what I saw was her jaw literally going rip right down her backbone. Literally filleting her spine and her head, ripping her head actually in half at the jaw. And the blood and the tissue immediately being exposed from her inside. Now, I've sat in on autopsies. I know what internal organs look like and body, so it wasn't an illusion. It wasn't just her skin being folded or that there was just a little blood. It was bloody mess. And at that moment, as the motion of pulling that apart happened, something else was going on at the same time. Something like the color of her coat, the color of her skin seemed to be changing, seemed to be almost like the color was starting to marbleize or move in the same moment. Almost like it was starting to swirl like a turbulence in the water when you see water moving. Almost like it was flowing into the ground. And her body literally started to implode into this blackness, into this darker space, which made no sense. And I know even explaining this over the years, it makes no logical sense. But that's what I saw. That's exactly what it looked like to me. Her body literally folding in on itself and disappearing into this blackness, which then became like an ash, like a gray or white ash. And when it actually was, it's like it disappeared into this powder, into this ash. And it all happened within just a second. And at the same time that was happening, I was swinging with this makeshift bat. It wasn't a stick. It was as big around as a baseball bat and about 6 feet, 7 feet long. And I hit it as hard as I could. I wanted to stop this action. I did not want to see what I was seeing. It was traumatic. It's the worst thing I've ever seen. So it was not a pretty thing.
At the point of contact with the club, the makeshift bat, what did you said in the book that the alien screamed out?
It struck him on the left side back quarter of his skull. When it hit, there was a sound. There was an impact. I could tell when it hit. I almost missed. I almost missed him because of everybody's movement. But I heard the impact. I could feel it in the bat itself. And then he kind of put his head back and screamed. Had this really painful scream.
After the contact.
After the contact. And I screamed at the same moment, or half a second later, in anger, in triumph that I struck him. I was defending my dog. I was defending myself. People have written and said, if I came upon an alien or another creature, you have to love them and you have to bring them into your heart. Well, hey, I'd be more than happy to bring them into my heart if they're not killing something in front of me. I thought I was next. I don't know what else was in my mind. But it was traumatic, it was fearful, and one of the worst things I've ever witnessed.
All right, just briefly, when you said Freddie was undulating, when you first came up on him, was there any audio, was there any sounds that correlated with him vibrating?
No,
distortion?
No. The only thing I was hearing Susie in terrible pain. I mean, by that time, it wasn't barking or just barking. It was screaming. If you've ever heard a dog yelping if they've been hit by a car or injured, it's a terrible sound. I mean, you know that they're in pain.
Freddie gets clocked, gets hit, connected with the bat to his head. He screams out. He falls on his back. What's next?
He actually fell on his side. He kind of fell from this angle down like that, and his head was turned to the side. So he was actually kind of halfway on his stomach and halfway on his back.
Okay.
And I actually kind of rolled him over later because I wasn't, I just couldn't believe what was really there after I had struck it, and when I finally went back and got my camera. I poked it with a stick to see if it was dead. I did, all those kind of things. But it wasn't breathing. It wasn't moving. There was a lot of blood from his own wound. So, as far as I was concerned, it was dead. Okay? And I was happy about that. But then I was so caught up in the sickness, because it came instantly. On impact, the same moment, the same millisecond, it seemed like, that it struck his head, he screamed, I screamed. In that moment, I was paralyzed with this crippling sickness. And just to make a note here, in the last 13 years, 12, 13 years, in talking with people all over the world that have had other experiences, there's lots of people who have had very similar experiences than mine, where they've been entangled in some kind of flight or fight. I'll bet I've talked to 20 people that have had an encounter where there was a fight incurred, where other people had struck things like this. Now, they didn't have cameras. They didn't have that kind of evidence. Maybe they were smarter than me by not having that stuff. Maybe, it was just coincidence that I had all this stuff. But the point I'm trying to make is other people besides me have recognized the same kind of entity, the same kind of struggle, the same kind of ability to have a lot of muscle and power from such a little creature. It was, like I was saying, it was throwing my dog back and forth like it weighed a pound. And my dog was 100 pounds. Golden Retriever. It was a big dog. I couldn't do that. And I was, 2 feet taller than this little guy. But after I drank the water and got my cameras and realized I had the cameras, I thought, well, none of this is probably really here. It's probably just my mind creating this illusion. But hey, I've got my camera, and my mind was thinking, do something logical. Do something of comfort. And my comfort zone was, okay, take a picture of it. You know how to pick this camera up. You got it in front of you. Take a picture of it. And that's what I did. I started photographing everything. I'd crawl around, I'd fall down. I'd get up, I'd lean against a tree. I took every bit of film I had. I went back, I had the video camera, and I know I was like a crazy man, because I was breathing and hyperventilating and throwing up all at the same time. Some people have said, oh, well, no, the pictures are too still for you using that camera that way. Folks, it's all been proven how I did it. So for those people who have questions or don't believe it, there's just as many people that can prove to you exactly how it can be done to take pretty good still pictures while you're hyperventilating. I didn't know what I was doing. I was sick. I didn't plan it. This was not something I wanted to happen at any sense of the word. I didn't want to have anything to do with this. I liked the way my life was. And to me, this was like having a massive stroke or heart attack. All I know is I was sick. and I had to get out of this place.